Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome back to what will be the build of the Kotobukiya Eren Yeager Titan version. So this is gonna be a little bit different. I don't have the best setup for a let's build sort of video. For now, I'll just have to work with this. As you can see right here, it's direct lighting, it's not diffuse, so it will kind of not look the greatest. And if you haven't checked out the unboxing yet, make sure to check that out. But anyway, onto the build. I've been asked quite a lot to do this, both in the past and on the last video, so I figured I might as well do it. I was also requested to do like a time-lapse or something like that, but currently that isn't possible technically, and also would take a lot more time. So all I'm gonna do really is just quickly build it. I will try to keep what's built here and not move around too much so you can kind of see it building up. For the majority of it, I'm just going to speed up the entire build. But if there's something worthwhile to say about it, I'll slow it down to real time and mention that. So let's get this done. Just in case anybody's wondering what I use to build my kits or what you would need to build this kit, usually what I just use is nippers. This is just a standard Tamiya one. This modeling knife, also by Tamiya. And this is my trusty file which I've had since I built my first ever Gundam. And it's pretty much irreplaceable. It's not as harsh as most files, so it's almost like using a very, very light sandpaper. I bought it like in a 3-pack in the 100 yen shop. Pretty much, it's perfect. So anyway, let's get this started. Probably hard to see this with the direct light, but the instruction says to start from the arms, but I'm a little bit strange. I always start any model kit from the legs. The reason is I kind of like to see it build up from the legs to the head, so that's what I'm going to do here. Another thing I usually do is I always cut out all the parts it shows on one page first. I don't like cutting out, cleaning, putting together, cutting out, cleaning, put together like that. I prefer to do it all in one go. Cut out, then clean, then stick it together. So there is everything from that page cut out, and now to clean it up. Usually what I'll do is either use the file or the knife. The knife, more than likely I'll use when something's a curved surface, because it's kind of hard to file a curved surface without kind of scraping up the whole thing. But a knife, you may end up slipping and digging right into it, which is another thing that can happen. So it's kind of a toss-up between the two. Usually, the file is better. So this might not be so in focus. I am looking at this upside down in the camera. So basically with the knife, I kind of just whittle it off like this, and that will look like that when finished. It does leave a bit of a mark, but not necessarily the worst. As you can see with nubs like this one, the file can't really get into that, so you'll end up filing away some of maybe up here as well as up here as well. So it's kind of, that's where I find the knife is quite good. You could use the rounded side, but I still find that doesn't really work. You could also use some kind of sandpaper, but I find that takes way too long, and I couldn't be arsed. And there's that bit removed with the knife. Little knobs like this section here on the knife are quite easy to deal with because you can just use the file. Like that. So that's enough about all that sort of stuff. I'm just going to do this real quick now. So that's all those parts complete. Let's stick them together. So there is a quick preview of the leg. A few seams here and there. It doesn't seem to push in all the way, but otherwise, that's not so bad. There's that bend at the knee. Got some action at the ankle here. And yeah, so far seems pretty cool. Next up is the crotch and the torso, which is all one section. So I'm going to do all the cutting out and the cleaning up off camera. And I'll be back for the assembly. It is worth noting that there are some mold lines, as you can see here, because I will be removing these. And in case you're wondering how I'm doing that, again, I'm using the file, but I'm wrapping sandpaper on it, so it's not as harsh. And I am using P1000, in case you're wondering. So that's all the parts of the torso cut out and cleaned up. Now let's put it together. So that is what the joints inside the waist are. So that's double jointed. And there is the completed torso. Quite the seam down the center there. Even when really pushed together, you can't really get much out of that. All I can recommend is gluing it with some plastic cement, and then maybe sanding it down, and that might get rid of the majority of that. Otherwise, I'm having a little bit of an issue with this part here. Inside here you can see there's these cuff sections, but in this side, it doesn't just want to stick in for me. I don't think I've sanded it down too much, but it is giving me a little bit of trouble. Maybe it will just hold in there when the arm is inserted. But anyway, to attach those legs, there's number one. And there is number two. And last now is the arms. And just as before, I'm going to cut them out and clean them up off camera. So here I go. Okay, so here are the arms, and let's finish them off. So pretty simple again. Both of these parts are made up of two different sections. It kind of makes me wonder why they didn't just mold them as one large section. Then it'd be more like a figure, and when you put it together, the seam lines wouldn't be there. But this is the way it is, so I guess you have to work with it. An elbow joint, and finally, the forearm. Quick look at both of those close up now. They look pretty good. There's the bend at the elbow. There it is straight out. And up here at the shoulder you got this side to side movement, as well as your standard up and down. There they are attached onto him, and last up then is the assembly of the hands. And according to the instructions, this looks a little bit difficult. There is the wrist joint over here. Then there's this tiny piece here. For example, if the wrist joint is here, it slots through like that. So that may or may not be difficult. Let's check it out. Okay, so let's try it out with this open palmed hand. This will be upside down for you because I don't fancy doing it upside down from my perspective. So that bit sticks in there, and you have to get this tiny piece of plastic into that hole. Alright, so that is two hands done there. It's not the worst, but it is the hardest part of this kit. Trying to get that little hole in is finger-crampingly difficult. There's probably a way to do it, but I just kind of squeeze them in with my nails. So these two hands are the only two I'm going to do for this Let's Build, just to give an example of what the whole thing looks like put together, and I'll put the rest together another time when my hands aren't all weird. And pretty much like any figure or anything like that, they just connect in like that. And the last thing to attach then is the head. And there we are. And while it's close up like that, you can see that the head doesn't quite match the body. Kinda looks like he's wearing fake tan on his face and his body is just pasty white. And that is pretty much the build finished. So the last thing I'll leave you guys with is a quick size comparison to the Figma Eren Yeager, because I know a lot of you will want to know. As you can see, he is that little bit bigger, but not as big as he should be. But if you think about it, if it was to scale and he's 14 centimeters and it's almost 10 times the size of Eren, then that would be like just under 1.5 meters. That would be a pretty big figure. It would be nice to see something real action hero sized, or maybe even something along the same size as this bust here. But either way, it is still a pretty cool little model kit. I have to admit, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. So more than likely, I am going to glue this, so it may take a little while before I get the review up. Maybe at the weekend, or maybe after. But one question I do have: to top code or not to top code? Tell me which you'd prefer to see in the review, and that's what I'll do. So as always, thanks for watching, and make sure to come back for more figure reviews. See you next time.